On the microphone. Rich, so for those of you who are holding, we haven't let in any guests yet. We just achieved a quorum for both the MPO board and the COG board. In about a minute or two, we will get the meeting started. Thank you. We're going to get the meeting started now, folks. I want to thank everyone for your patience. At a chamber legislative meeting held in Southbury for the Waterbury region, so a number of people were coming from there, which is the reason for our delay. Mayor O'Leary will join us momentarily. With that, Vice Chair Mayor Hess will convene the meeting.
All right, well, let's have Mayor Dunn lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you doing a roll call?
I will do the roll. From the city of Ansonia, we're joined by Mayor Cassetti. Mayor, can you identify yourself?
Sheila.
Oh, it's you?
Mayor's on as well, Rick.
Yeah, I thought he was on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, the mayor present. And we're also joined by Sheila O'Malley, the alternate from Ansonia. From the town of Beacon Falls, we have First Selectman Smith.
Yeah, I'm here, Rick.
Thank you, Jerry. From the town of Bethlehem, First Selectman Sorty.
Present.
From the city of Bristol, we welcome Mayor Caggiano.
Live and in person. Thank you very
Glad
much.
to have you.
Glad I can make it.
Glad to have you. From the town of Cheshire, we're joined today by Andrew Martelli, who's the pending appointee, I believe.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay. We got to get your paperwork, Andrew, but you're good for today. From the city of Derby, Mayor Zekin.
Here.
From the town of Middlebury, First Selectman St. John.
Here.
From the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor Hess.
Here.
From the town of Oxford, First Selectman Temple.
Here.
Thank you, sir. From the town of Plymouth, Mayor Kilduff.
I'm here.
Yes, sir. From the town of Prospect, Mayor Chatfield.
Here.
From the town of Seymour, we have First Selectwoman Dragonis.
Here.
Morning. Mayor Loretti is not here. First Selectman Manville, I do not believe is here. First Selectman Moan from Thomaston will be here. He has a family issue. But he said he'll be late. Mayor O'Leary is on his way, should be here momentarily. From the town of Watertown, we welcome Town Council Chair Jonathan Ramsey.
Here.
Thank you. From the town of Wolcott, Mayor Dunn.
Here.
And Mayor, First Selectwoman Perkinson was a maybe for today. I don't believe she's with us. Okay, we're also joined today by the Greater Waterbury Transit District Chair Betty Bajak, if I'm saying that correctly. I apologize, Betty. John Field from Dennis Region 5 is with us. April Chaplin from the Kennedy Center is with us, and Eric Shortell from Federal Highway Administration. Did I miss any other guests, Richard? Okay, with that, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum of both the CNVMPO and NVCOG boards.
All right, thank you, Rick. We're gonna open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment?
Eddie Aaron, remember, sir.
Yes. Oh, Hetty's on the phone. We did get a request from George Logan to speak during the public portion, but I don't believe he's on the call.
Well, we'll recognize first Senator Logan if you're here. Are you here? All right. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? All right, last call for public comment. Hearing none, we'll go to item 2, resolution 2207. Kevin Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. We have one TIP project in front of us right now. This is drainage improvements along Route 42 in Cheshire between Willow Brook and about half a mile to the east of that. This will improve the drainage pipes along the roadway, improve catch basins, and improve sidewalk ramps as needed within the project. This is going to be funded totally with federal and state funds, no local funds, and the project is slated to start construction in 2025. So if no one has any questions, I'd recommend adopting this motion.
Move to adopt Chatfield.
Okay, motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Any questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So ordered. All right, item 3, approval of the minutes. Mayor Dunn.
Make a motion to approve. Chatfield second.
As predicted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Approval of financial reports. Michael.
Thank you. Just gonna share my screen here. So this is the financial report that was sent out in your agenda package last week. It's for the period ending December 31st, 2021. Our current net position is $173,000, but we are still projected to have a $20,000 surplus at the end of the year, despite us adopting a $78,000 deficit last year. There haven't been any funding cuts or unusual expenses that are out of it. So everything's on track as planned. Are there any questions?
All right, questions for Michael? This is the easiest job I ever had. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
For the record, sir, Mayor Dunn made the motion to accept and I second it.
Yeah. We got it.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
I heard.
They're done. You got demoted. I don't understand this.
Took seniority, yeah.
Okay. Review of preliminary 2023 budget estimates and dues. Rick Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the executive board met last week to discuss the preliminary dues estimates for the 2023 fiscal year. Normally, we adopt estimates in January and send the notices out to the towns for budgeting purposes. And then in May, sometimes as late as June, sometimes later than June, depending upon the legislature, we adopt an actual budget. This year, the board has not felt comfortable going forward with the adoption of the budget estimates. And what they directed us to do last week was to get a notice out to the towns indicating that we'd make a decision later in the year, possibly after the legislature settles in May. You'll be receiving a memo, your finance people, as well as CEOs will receive a memo from our office today. We'll give you basically 2 columns on dues. One will be the current year's dues. The second column will represent a 5% increase. We're advising that you use both of these to set your own budgets and make your own judgment on that. The reason for the 5% increase is we are anticipating, as a result of the infrastructure bill, an increase in our main funding source for federal transportation planning. So the 5% in our dues would represent the match that we have to make with local funds to the federal funds. Federal funds are typically 80% federal, 10% state, and 10% local. So that's the reason for the proposed budget increase. The budget itself is essentially flat in terms of activities, general administrative activities. We are budgeted for, Michael, 2 positions that are vacant currently?
Just one.
One position is currently vacant and one that may be vacant during the year. We have some priority expenditures for new financial and project management software this year that we had delayed from last year while we brought on a new auditor. We didn't want to change systems in the middle of that changeover to new auditors. We're also staying on top of our computer hardware server issues. We have both cloud servers and we have to have backup of a hard server locally. And it looks like we're slated to replace that in the upcoming year. I'd let defer to Michael if you have any other expenditures or changes from the current budget, Michael?
The other biggest change than the 2 IT pieces Rick mentioned is the insurance, particularly medical, life, disability. There's an 8% increase from the previous year, and that just came through from the state about a month ago.
That's a projection though, not an actual bill. We won't get an actual bill until when?
Oh, yeah, that's the projection for 23. We won't start getting the increase until July.
Right.
I mean, other than that, the main activity changes are with the PL carryover, particularly because of the cut from RSG from the state. We have to make up the fund, and we're hitting the carryover a lot harder than we have in the past. Other than that, there's a couple programs and grants that have closed, such as the FEMA grant, and a couple other small ones that's also causing us to hit the carryover. Other than that, other activity increases are in the brownfields programs as we start working more on the projects and remediation. And if that all goes well, we'll get another supplemental agreement for the RLF as well, which we're going to start applying for in the next month or 2.
So Michael, I wanted to address just the RSG for the full board. I know we discussed this in detail with the executive board, and we also had a meeting with the legislative delegation approximately 2 weeks ago. RSG, for those of you who are new, RSG is the main funding source to COGS from the state of Connecticut. It is one of the only flexible funding sources that we have that are not local dollars. You heard Michael say earlier in the finance report that we had budgeted a deficit for the current year. And the main reason for that was we suffered a 14% reduction in state aid as a result of a formula change. We are now working with our delegation and the other COGs to increase the pot of money that is directed to RSG distribution by the state of Connecticut. So the legislature can make a decision to direct dollars that are already in the pot for regions and move it from a discretionary category to the formula category. If they make the change that we're advocating for, which would be to plus up the numbers from $4.1 million to $7 million, which was the original amount that was targeted and planned for back when this program was put in place in 2015. So if we finally get to that number, that will solve a lot of problems for everyone, but it's also the reason we're not setting a budget right now, because we need to know where that's going. Yesterday, I had a meeting with all of the COGs around Connecticut, and there's universal support for making the change. So we're going to pursue this with the legislature, and hopefully by May, they will make that decision, or make a decision of some increase. Frankly, if they plus up from 4.1 million to 5 million, then we will be whole from the formula change. The only other item is performance reviews, salaries, and the like. We're in the midst of the performance review process. I will make a recommendation back to the board on salaries going forward. We'll adopt that when we adopt the budget. We have a reserve in the budget to account for any increases though. So that's in the presentation that you have in the current numbers that you have. I think Michael and I would be happy to answer any questions, but we will take this up again at the next executive board meeting, which right now, don't quote me, but it's looking like March 9th will be the executive board meeting, and that'll be 2 days prior to the full board meeting in March.
You
Questions?
have a question, Mr. St. John?
No, I'm all set.
Any questions for Rick? No action today,
No action required. Thank you.
all right? We're now ready for your brief report. I stole that one.
That's okay. Michael, Richard, what am I, oh, there we go. Okay, NVision update. NVision is our, as you all know, is our every 5-year conference, which has been delayed for several years due to COVID. We made the decision in January to not go forward on March 30th. And we're looking at September 13th or 14th at the Palace. We hope to finalize that as soon as we heard back from the governor's press and scheduling offices. Good news, we did get funding commitments to underwrite that conference from both Eversource and from United Illuminating, Avangrid. So we're in really, really good shape in terms of covering the expenses for the conference with sponsors. We did not and don't solicit from firms that we do business with. We don't solicit from engineering firms, planning firms, and the like. I've never liked doing that, and if I can avoid it, I'll always avoid doing that. So that's the NVision update. RSG funding, I talked to you about already during the budget, and if there's any other legislative items that anyone wants to raise or has questions about for the upcoming session involving the COG, I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, that is my report.
All right, any questions for Rick? All right, hearing none, let's go to municipal shared services. John DeCarlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. COG staff's been working with Connecticut DEEP and its consultant, Kristen Brown, to assist any interested municipalities in applying for the Sustainable Materials Management Grant Program. We're pleased that we have 6 municipalities advancing to phase 2 in this process. NVCOG is preparing its own application. We're going to have a scoping meeting next week with Kristen Brown to discuss potential ideas, which include providing free home-based composting units for residents across the region, planning a unit-based pricing infrastructure that towns could opt into if they like, citing and coordinating a regional composting operation, or launching solution-oriented education and outreach about the waste crisis in the region. Our goal is to refine those ideas and distill them into a proposal with region-wide benefits. We will share details as our application moves forward. Also, as the projected skyrocketing cost of solid waste disposal is not going away, we'll be sending notice of our next scheduled meeting of the Municipal Solid Waste and Recycling Working Group in the next couple of weeks. We will continue to work on ways to help your towns address these costs. Regarding the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, as noted last month, we are cataloging all of our municipalities' ARPA projects under consideration and moving forward to identify potential savings that could be gained from joint procurement. There are a wide variety of projects being considered across this region. A few areas that we identified for matches are HVAC upgrades, recreational facility upgrades, and sewer projects. Emails were sent this week to each town and city contact, and the CEO and administrative assistant was CC'd on that outreach. We will continue to check with your staff as the process of determining projects moves forward and make you aware of any potential matching programming and savings that you might gain. I'm happy to take any questions.
Question, John, on the joint savings, we must have a bunch of municipalities buying stormwater pipes or sewer pipes. Is that the type of thing you're looking to do jointly? And are there any other towns to Naugatuck? Because we're going to be buying a lot of pipe.
Absolutely, and I believe you were CC'd on a message that I sent out in that regard. You and Jim Stewart and your staff were. Yes, there are multiple sewer projects, and that was one of the ones identified in it. So yeah, we'd be happy to follow up with you and any other towns that are checking in.
Thank you. Any questions for John?
Through the chair, John, the 6 communities for your recycling program composting, just curious what they are.
Off the top of my head, I don't want to run through it without.
That's okay.
Did you want me to jump in, John? I'm happy to.
If you have them in front of you, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So we have Woodbury, Woolkit, Watertown, Bethlehem, Shelton, and Ansonia.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? All right, we'll move to our emergency management update. I think we have Joanna and John, so Joanna, why don't you start?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time. I am going to just start off with last night, the COVID emergency declaration. The Connecticut House did vote to extend it to June 30th. Now we're just waiting for the Connecticut Senate to vote on this extension. That vote is expected this coming Monday. And I'm going to hand it over to John Fields to give you an update on PPE and everything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Vice Chair and Joanna. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As usual, just from the COVID front, there's still a lot of activity going on. As Joanna stated, we're learning more and more information in regards to last night's legislative actions. In regards to that, you know, there's really a couple main focus areas. You know, the first being the extension of the emergency itself, and it looks like they want to do that out to the 30th. The House passed that now, as Joanna said, it goes to the Senate. And then, you know, there's also the vaccination requirements for the nursing home staff. It looks like they want to extend that until March at some point, and then the school and daycare mask requirements, and trying to get that extended at least till the 28th, in which the governor has already said that at that point, what he would like to do is turn it back over to the public and private schools themselves to try to make the decision in regards to masks, optional masks, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's transpiring right now in the legislature. So we're watching that carefully, trying to keep informed on the progress of all that. Then as far as, and I'm sure Joanna could touch more on this, long-term recovery, they're starting to work on some of the projects that were identified during the process. Long-term recovery steering committee for Region 5 met the other day. FEMA gave a report, and I know for a fact, because I've been invited to a couple of their meetings, they're meeting with a couple of municipalities to start to work on some of the projects that were identified by those municipalities. I know Torrington and Waterbury are a couple of those. And then there's also some groups that they're starting to get with and trying to address some of the projects that they put in. So FEMA is actually moving forward with a lot of those projects and the goal is to try to identify funding mechanisms to, get those objectives accomplished that were, or there's those projects or issues that were raised, trying to get those addressed. So that's what they're doing in long-term recovery. The community resource coordinators, Danielle Powell, her contract expired at the end of January. So the CRCs are done. They're actually going back, and they were basically serving as a case management type thing. People would be referred to them. So now it's going back to those nonprofit agencies to, like Danielle, actually work for New Opportunities. So now New Opportunities goes back to their normal operations and addressing people that way moving forward. As far as test kits and PPE, we just had our 8th pod yesterday. We've distributed just under 500,000 test kits in Region 5, as well as probably 500,000 face mask, and then other PPE throughout the region. So we just had our 8th and final municipal pod yesterday. That's going to be the final one. We are in the planning stages right now of having one more SDE pod, which is the State Department of Education. So we're looking at trying to get one more push out to the schools, both public and private. And that looks like we're going to do a survey next week, see what they actually need. And then the following week, probably the 24, 25 area, we're going to look at doing some large pods for the schools and going directly to the schools to distribute test kits. And the focus on that is their spring vacation time here. So they'll be coming back from spring vacation, and the goal is to give each student and each staff member 2 test kits to take home with them. So that's the push, and we're looking at probably distributing across the state about 2.4 million test kits, and that pretty much will empty what we have in the warehouse. As you can imagine, what's happened at the beginning, we ordered a bunch of test kits to accomplish some of the objectives set forth by the governor's office. When we did that, some came in, some didn't. You heard the whole story there through open source media and stuff. So finally, they kept ordering, and then finally it all came in. So now we do have quite a stash of test kits there that they want to get out, and they're going to get them out to the school. So then, that will deplete our stock, I'll call it, at the warehouse that we have right now. So still a lot of activity going on in regards to the COVID and all that kind of stuff, as you guys are aware. From the normal front, I call it the normal operational front, we're looking to, and you guys, all the folks in Region 5 got this email the other day. We're looking to start up and develop a school safety and security working group, and basically, SROs or anyone that's in charge of the safety and security of your school systems to try to get together and network a little bit, just trying to establish a networking process for them to work together, share best practices and stuff like that. So we're working on doing that right now. And then, as you saw, Fairfield County and Litchfield County were added to IDA's public assistance, not public assistance. I think it was individual assistance, for reimbursement. So I sent out information, I believe yesterday or the day before, in regards to having briefs, opening briefs for all that kind of stuff. And more information will follow. So we're working with the public assistance unit and individual assistance unit from DEMIS as well as FEMA to get as much information as we can out to the individuals, to the towns, to share with those individuals and nonprofits and stuff like that. So that's on the normal front, plus all our normal operations, trying to keep up with that. But that's all I have, Joanna. I don't know what you want to add there.
Yeah, thanks, John. Just amazing source of knowledge. Thank you. I don't know how you keep it straight in your head. It's awesome. I just want to touch on some more points that happened at the long-term recovery meeting this past Wednesday. The Health and Human Services Group, they're focusing on equity issues with personal protective equipment, most notably the masks. And specifically, they're working with the Department of Health and Human Services for getting masks that are clear for the deaf and hard of hearing community. So that's an ongoing effort for them. The education sector, they're having more talks about increasing the capability, the internet capability for students. The arts and culture sectors, they're specifically speaking about resilience and getting stronger connections with the business community, and also getting more training on finance and applications. And I just want to touch a little bit more about the FEMA Region 1 and the projects that were submitted through that portal this past October of 2021. So there were 348 projects across the state submitted to that portal. 27% of those projects are from distressed communities. 27%, which is about 94, 93 projects. So those are the ones that FEMA Region 1 is going to be addressing first. And again, this is distressed as per the Connecticut state of Connecticut criteria. And for our Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments area, that includes Waterbury, Ansonia, and Derby. So FEMA will be talking with those communities first about their projects. And the next state recovery meeting is on March 9th, next month. Regarding Regional Emergency Planning Team Meeting 5, the next meeting of the steering committee is the 14th, this coming Monday. The Regional Emergency Planning Committee 2 is on Friday next week, a week from today. And the community emergency response teams, they're actually, I participated in some training for working with the deaf and hard of hearing community. And just so you know, there's all these great free training programs for the CERT team members in all kinds of aspects of this, and especially they're moving more into the equity aspect. So that's all I've got for today, and we're open to questions. Thank you.
I'll just say something. I have a question, comment, Joanna. I recently learned that a distressed municipality, for example, Naugatuck was distressed. We came off the list 2 years ago, but under the statute, we're entitled to those benefits for a 5-year period after we come off the list. So Naugatuck, if we're entitled to something, we're claiming it.
If I could, Mayor Hess, I wanted to address this issue. I knew Joanna, I didn't actually, she was going to mention it, but we talked about it the other day a little bit. The distressed municipality category, the mayor just explained properly. We had 2 towns that dropped off the list. We used to have 5, Naugatuck and Bristol both dropped from the list. In addition to the 5 years of eligibility, any projects that you were included in or approved for, no matter how long they take, when you had that status, you continue to hold that status and participate at that benefit level. So, you know, there can be any number of programs or projects that you were approved for specifically. That if it runs beyond 5 years, it runs beyond 5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, John. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Did we cover, did Aaron needs to speak about the regional mitigation, and we did that?
Nope.
Aaron, regional hazard mitigation. Thank you.
Good morning. FEMA has given final approval to the NVCOG Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. The plan was funded with a grant from FEMA and updates the local mitigation plans for all municipalities in the region. So with this plan approval, all 19 NVCOG communities are eligible to apply to the Connecticut Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, or DEMIS, for hazard mitigation grants administered by FEMA. The updated plans will be active through January 2027. So you should all be receiving hard copies of the final reports if you haven't already, and all final documents have been posted on the NVCOG website at nvcogct.gov/HMP. Thank you.
Wow, quick.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So we want to get feedback from the towns as to whether you think this was a successful effort to do it as a single region with one application for all towns. Our plan will be it took Aaron, about 4 years to get the original planning grant approved. So these plans will expire in 27. So if we're going to do it as a regional plan again, I'm going to start staff in 2023-24, doing the applications and paperwork to go forward. So I'd like to just get some feedback over the next year and find out if you guys are happy with the process and whether we should pursue it again.
But without harboring the thought too long, certainly from a small town perspective like Thompson, it was very beneficial to have the COG do it. Now, I don't know how that plays for the larger communities, if it's equally as beneficial, but as a small community, it was truly, and I see Zeke nodding his head as well.
Okay.
I'll echo the same comments. I've worked with Dave Murphy for years and years and years, and Dave, I'm the same thing. Dave is he's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to all of this. And I think it's better, certainly for the smaller towns, to use a consulting firm to pull all the region together. And I totally agree. They were great to work with, and we're fine. And it certainly would be my recommendation. They've done very well by all of us in the past. They've been doing it for years too, Rick, I think.
Yeah.
I think this is their second or third go around.
They did a lot of our individual town plans previously. VCOG used to do a regional plan for its 4 towns prior to the merger, but this is the first time we've done it with the 19 towns.
No.
I think one of the key factors, aside from the convenience of it, is that Aaron was able to secure. Aaron, how much was the grant you secured from FEMA to do the planning?
So I just want to give credit to Joanna, because Joanna was sort of took this on in the beginning and did that grant process. And I think the total grant was a little under $300,000. I'm not.
Right, so that was $300,000 of potential funding that you all would have had to apply for individually. So it's not just the planning grant activity itself and certification, it's getting the money to get it done. And then we were also able to leverage the match regionally. So it's a 50-50 grant proposal where the towns usually pay half. I think the towns actually ended up, by doing it this way, paid us about 20 to 25% match, and the rest of it we were able to get done within kind between the regional staff and the town staffs. So.
Cool. Okay, so it sounds like, at least from this perspective, it sounds like the right way to go. I'll talk to Aaron or talk to Adam Renko, but I'm sure he's not going to disagree with this assessment. Plus, it's less work for him.
That's very involved, that study.
Yeah.
You really
Okay.
gotta have some expertise in that area.
Absolutely. All right, I guess are we on 6?
6.
Item agenda 6, the corridor planning study update through 229 in Bristol. Josh.
Josh,
Where are you, Josh?
Josh, you need to unmute.
So I'm just going to run through a quick summary of those 2 projects. I'll just start by saying that they both have similar schedules. They both began in February of 21 and are 2-year studies conducted by consultants. So I'll review 229 first. Essentially, it's intended to identify existing and future traffic patterns, safety deficiencies, and multimodal transportation strategies for a 6-mile corridor extending from Farmington Avenue in the city of Bristol to the I-84 interchange 31 in Southington. It's a cooperative effort, which is actually surprisingly unusual, between NVCOG for the city of Bristol and Capital Region, which is town of Southington. The consultant selected is BL companies. And so essentially they have submitted an existing conditions report in August of 21, which was shared with your municipal staff in Bristol and obviously Southington as well. And then in September 21, we had both a charrette with town staff and representative from DOT, as well as a public outreach meeting at the Southington Library. And so basically, in terms of scope, the report of existing conditions documented roadway conditions, traffic operations, level of service, safety characteristics, intersection and driveway access, land use and zoning. We spent a good bit of time basically working with town staff to identify future land use patterns and development patterns in those areas so that we could have an accurate sense of what the future traffic levels will be. The consultant team is in their final stages of preparing an alternatives analysis report that will be submitted, we believe, by the end of February, so coming up very soon. So I want to just quickly also review for 229, what they found and where we're going with the study. And all this should be available to you as well in a summary report that's in the packet. So basically, throughout the corridor, you have an issue of multiple closely spaced intersections, as well as limited pedestrian and transit accommodations. And that's true both in the Bristol section and in the Southington area, although it's much more characteristic of the Bristol section that has basically the characteristics of an urban street network. There are high levels of traffic congestion, particularly in the Southington portion, where you have ESPN and a number of hotels, and it's basically more of an office and retail mixed-use corridor, as well as higher density residential. For the southern portion of the corridor in Southington, there's significant projected increase in traffic congestion, basically due to further retail, high density residential and office use. We're reviewing, and throughout the study, we've reviewed where potentially the impacts of the pandemic and trends towards work from home or flexible work location might cause some basically shift in the curve that's been projected, and make sure that we aren't overestimating the level of traffic basically based on prior pre-COVID types of work patterns. There are definitely traffic safety issues throughout the corridor. And in particular, we've identified that the northern segment between Farmington Avenue and Route 72 in Bristol is an area where there are definite opportunities to have more of a traffic calming approach. It is currently mapped as a state route, so there's some limit to how aggressively you can calm traffic. But we're basically, with the consultant team, we're looking at every opportunity to realign intersections or to add some traffic calming characteristics to the corridor, and to have throughout the corridor a multi-use pedestrian and bicycle pathway, basically adjacent to or in place of the sidewalks, so that you have more opportunities for alternative travel pattern through the area, in particular in the residential area, because you have a lot of the schools and playgrounds that are located right on 229 itself. So that's the status for that project. If there are any questions, more than happy to answer.
Any questions, anybody?
Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Josh, you're addressing West Main as well?
You bet. So we will now go to West Main. The study schedule on that is quite similar. We're working with consultant Fuss and O'Neill to develop the project, and study schedule also quite similar. And essentially they're a half step ahead of BL on the 229, in that they have provided us with an alternatives analysis that we're in the process of reviewing and having some small revisions made by the consultant team. Basically here, the emphasis is on what we would call a roadway diet, and narrowing a corridor to some degree that has a large vehicular capacity and an emphasis on vehicular through movement, where essentially it is an urban setting with more opportunity for development of the surrounding area in a mixed use pattern, with an emphasis on residential and retail, versus just having it be an auto oriented corridor. Clearly the existing pattern is very mixed. You have institutional uses predominantly facing the green on West Main. You have in the sections just to the west of that, you have a very mixed use character of residential, motel, auto drive-in uses, and heavy duty commercial uses. So what we want to do is support the future development of that corridor to be more pedestrian oriented and more compatible with the neighborhood. And our consultants come up with some really good concepts for having strategic narrowing of the roadway, basically taking, in some cases, because you have already areas that are constrained to two travel lanes, one in each direction, to basically reduce the width in areas where you have, no particular traffic capacity benefit in having a larger profile for the roadway and having, left turn pockets take the place of a full through travel lane, in addition to, to having one through movement lane. You can basically serve the same provide the same level of service, simply with offset left turn lanes. So from a urban development standpoint, I think that there really is the opportunity, as we complete that study, to look for some strategic opportunities to implement pilot projects on a block by block basis and split that overall planning approach into easily digestible pieces that can be addressed via lot SIP, via state funding, and in particular interrelated with the new mix initiative to basically enhance movement between local movement that might be currently on I-84, to bring that back onto the local street network and open up some capacity on 84. So if there are any questions on that one, let me know.
Questions? All right. Looks like we're good on that. How about Mark Nielsen on Route 6 in Woodbury?
Yeah, just a quick update here. Last year, we solicited all our towns for possible planning corridor studies. We did receive a couple applications that we submitted to DOT, and I just wanted to mention that the US Route 6 planning study that was proposed in Woodbury was approved, and we will be starting work on that in the coming year. And we follow the similar approach that we use for the two we just discussed. We'll put together a planning work program, agreements, hire a consultant, and do the study. It's going to focus probably mostly within their town center area, where there's a lot of concern with pedestrian and vehicle safety. So that's probably going to be the focus, but it is going to be starting to look at the entire corridor from Watertown to Southbury. Mark, you want to just let everyone know about the grant awards to CMAQ? Yeah, I was just going to mention that too before going on to the next. Every year or so, DOT asks us to solicit project proposals under the CMAQ, which is Congestion Mitigation Air Quality. It's a federal aid program. It's designed to do projects that will have some kind of a effect on reducing vehicle emissions. A lot of times they mostly fund traffic signal improvement projects, but there's a fairly long list of possible projects. But we did get awarded 2 projects in our region, one in Ansonia to do some improvements in pedestrian connections between their downtown and the train station, as well as putting EV charging stations at the train station. The other project is Bristol. They had put in for a project to upgrade a lot of the signal equipment in the town center area, the downtown area. That was also approved for $3,370,000. So those 2 projects will begin shortly. I just wanted to thank and congratulate the COG staff for their work on those applications, and just let the board know that EV charging and electric vehicles generally, particularly charging infrastructure, is something that we're going to pay a little different attention to. We're going to create an internal interdisciplinary group between our environmental planners and our transportation planners, so we begin to focus on this as a regular activity during our planning process. And I would say the Ansonia project, these projects we did the solicitation back in October of 2020. Before the infrastructure bill was even anybody was even thinking about it. So going forward, even though EV charging was under the CMAC, I think we have a greater opportunity under the new bill legislation, because they really are trying to make an effort to increase the amount of charging stations throughout the region, and also maybe focusing on locations along I-84, Route 8, so people who have electric vehicles have, they're traveling longer distances, know that they can, pull off and find a charging station somewhere. So yeah, as Rick said, we're going to keep a close eye on that.
Okay.
And going forward with the infrastructure bill, we just did receive notice that USDOT has opened the next round of RAISE grants. RAISE is a very competitive discretionary program, and it's intended for doing larger projects, ones that are harder to do under our normal transportation program. RAISE used to be build, used to be Tiger. So the good news with this round, so the notice of funding opportunity just was released. The problem is the deadline for submitting applications is April 18th, so there's not a whole lot of time. However, in the new infrastructure bill, they codified RAISE as an annual program. In the past, we never knew whether they were going to do RAISE 1 year to the next. Now, for the next 5 years, RAISE will be a program. So we'll be working with the towns to see if there are any projects. We may not be able to submit anything for this round, but the nice thing is we can start doing the planning and get applications ready for submittal next year, because it will be an annual program. The infrastructure law also increased the amount. There's $1.5 billion available this year. That's the minimum going forward each year, and that's about a $600 million increase over past programs. So, and Congress does have the authority to appropriate another 1.5. So could be a lot of money available. And I would suggest that we don't try to put something in this that quickly, because we just may not be able to put it together in the 2 months we have. But we can work throughout the year to really, come up with a good application, a good project.
The key on RAISE, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Rick.
The key on RAISE, if you have a local idea that you want to advance, we need to find a regional aspect to it generally, but the most important thing is that we separately have DOT support. We can't go down the road creating an application. The state DOT is not going to endorse it or support it or pay the non-federal share of 20%. We're not, then we're just wasting time. So it's important that from a political perspective in the towns, you work both with us and with the state.
And I will just say, Mayor, I'm not sure if you're interested in trying to resubmit your Port of Naugatuck application that you had submitted under build. That's something that can be resubmitted, because that's pretty much already there. So we won't have a lot of work to put it together or to update it to submit by the April 18th.
We need a different railroad partner because CSX stole my company. So we're looking for a new partner.
Let's form our own railroad.
I'll tell you that.
Let's do our own railroad. How about it?
I like it. I'm in.
Come from a railroading family.
So I guess I'm not sure. Are you suggesting that none of us apply for the RAISE grant this year?
No, I'm suggesting it's going to be a heavy lift.
For us.
Because it's
yours all set and you're going forward. You're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I
Absolutely.
meant for our if you wanted the COG to help you put together the
A lot of
application.
work. It's a lot of work.
And I was just saying that no, if you have if a municipality wants to submit one and they're ready to go and they have the resources to put the application together, yeah, no question, we'll be supportive of that. I was just suggesting that from the COG perspective, because we had helped Seymour, when was that? 2016, that we put together and it was a lot of work to put the Tiger application together. But if you have something, and as I mentioned with Mayor Hess, they have 90% of the work is there and that could be done. Yeah, and we'll be, we're more than willing to help. So yes, I'm not suggesting towns don't. I'm just saying it's for the COG to work.
Is Mark Botten the guy that we should work with on that when we submit?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a
So-
good question.
So, yeah, the commissioner is responsible for finding a way to get the competitive grant process working at a high level between the state and DC. So we've had ongoing conversations with Mark, a couple of the COG directors about how we'll work this out with DOT, particularly on that side, and with DEEP on the clean water environmental side. So, but I don't know if he's gonna get involved in picking winners and losers in terms of projects, as opposed to just making sure the resources are in place for the applications to get built.
Mark, refresh my memory on the Tiger Grant Freight Street. Who did most of who carried most of the water on that?
Well,
So-
RBA,
Was our,
RBA consultants did that application, put that together.
Yeah.
And they're now what, NV5, I think. That's why I had to think, because I knew their name had changed, but RBA was the one that sort of assisted the city in putting that application together. And again, that's always the opportunity or option that, you know, we could hire a consultant to put together the application. Because any consultant that we, you know, that has done this kind of work, I mean, they would definitely get the project application done in the
Can I
2
ask a
months.
question, Mark? I'm gonna re-ask your question. So, a raise grant goes to US DOT,
Correct.
and that's federal money. And the infrastructure money is federal money that's going to the state. So I had the exact same question as Mayor O'Leary. Is it the same, or is it different, or which way do you go?
Yeah, right. They're different pots of money. Raise was included in the infrastructure act as a program that's being funded annually at $1.5 billion a year. The regular transportation program is our normal programs, National Highway System, STPBG, which is, you know, for state assets, CMAC, the Transportation Alternatives Program, things like that. That was also in the infrastructure, but those are just continuation of the normal federal aid programs that we can still apply for.
I mean, to be clear and simple, think about the infrastructure money generally that's coming to Connecticut as a plus up of the existing formula programs that Connecticut gets to spend, and you guys and other MPOs in Connecticut decide to approve for projects. That's the regular amount. And I know, I don't want to sound greedy about this. It's a lot of money, but if you look at the rate at which the increases have occurred over the last decade versus how they occurred over the 20 years prior, we would probably be past this point if we stayed at the same rate of spending for these types of infrastructure programs. The money that you're talking about with RAISE and other new programs, all of them, they're discretionary programs.
Right.
So we have to make applications directly to DC, and that requires a team approach between the town, the MPO, the state DOT, and most critically, your federal delegation members, because it's ultimately the Secretary of Transportation's office that makes these decisions.
Right, but it's a direct application, not an application through the state, but DOT is a partner
Yeah.
with the town and the COG.
Yeah, the US DOT is not going to look on it favorably if it doesn't have the support of both the DOT and the state delegation. I mean,
Right.
but it's a competitive process nationally as opposed to money that's guaranteed to come to Connecticut through the normal programs that we're all used to.
I hired a hotshot consultant last night, so almost.
Great.
And just past experience has shown about 20% of the applications actually get funded. And so there's a lot more.
That percentage is going to go down because there's going to be a lot more applications.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hot shots that hang around the top.
Yeah.
Mayor, I have just a comment to that. Mark, Rick and you and I we're gonna have a further discussion after the meeting. We kind of have a very unique problem with the Route 64 area, with the state embarking on an almost $60 million interchange project. It's taking a marginal 2.5 lane intersection and making it out into a 4-lane. And then we're going to reduce the road down to 2 lanes through Route 64, which is not our center of town, but is very much becoming one. And with all the activity that we got on and all the projects that have been approved there, we're gonna have a nightmare on our hands. So what I did, because this has become so complicated and might be something you might want to consider, you've already done it. But I reached out to somebody that we worked with very closely before, and we retained them to come in and work with you folks to see what we can do from a very professional standpoint to make all of the necessary long-range improvements through that area. So you will be getting a call from our consultant that will be working with us on that area to try to coordinate everything that's being done. We don't have the expertise to be able to do that, and it's a state right-of-way, extremely complicated right-of-way, with a massive gas line project ready to happen next summer. Fortunately, all of our utilities are in place. We don't have to be concerned about that. But it's a very, very complicated, with a walkway on one side and pedestrian travel is you take your life in your hands to the area. So thank God we have the Greenway, but Mark, it's very, very, very complicated and well beyond, with all these different grants. I don't want to be chasing our tail going around here and chasing for things when in fact we should be looking at something else, something a little bit more global. Then we started with sidewalks and pedestrian travel. We're way beyond that now with the mess that I see coming down. But also, that's all I wanted to share with you.
When are they supposed to start that project?
It's going for bid this fall, as far as I know.
Is it really? I thought they, yeah.
It's fast track.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
'cause I was
fast
gonna say
track project.
probably,
Yeah.
24, but.
Ron Nault is handling it through his consulting firm through DeCarlo and Dahl, and he's been actually I've dealt with Ron.
Yeah, I was
for
gonna
years.
give Ron a
Been
call, after I talked to him.
He's working with that project, and then our folks will be in touch with you too, and I'll be chatting with you after we talk a little bit. Another thing totally unrelated to it, we jumped the gun with this whole police accountability thing, and we're all up to speed with the cameras and been using them for a while for the cars and all the things that go with it. And we experienced a little interesting issue with the whole system that I'll share with anybody who's going to it. We went with Axion system, which is great system, but we encountered a little issue, which you'll chuckle a little bit about, that I want to share with you, that fortunately our DPW mechanics and others, I think they have an answer to the whole thing. But I just want to be alert, if you go to them and go to that system, there's a little interesting scenario that may happen to you. So anybody wants to stick around later, we can chit chat about it, but I'll be glad to share with it. I see a big smile on Mayor Dunn's face. If you experience the same problem, well, I'll share it with you. Yeah, I want to share it. Yeah, they're a great system. Mayor, it's super. It's super. But there's a little bit of an issue that we experience, all mechanical, Kaido. This is comical.
The look on your face is, I'm very intrigued.
Well, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to argue. This has nothing to do with this meeting.
Doesn't like follow you in the bathroom.
This is kind of amusing in a way, but can be, it's big problem.
Okay. Mark, are you?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick update. I mean, this is a major study that we've been doing for the last couple of years. And I think the focus of it has sort of changed during the course of our work on it, because it originally got started was looking at improvements to Waterbury rail line and alternative modes through the Route 8 corridor. But the emphasis of improving the rail line became sort of paramount. And actually, some of the stuff that we were going to be proposing has actually been implemented by the state. So, but that study is wrapping up. We're working on a video that's going to sort of present all of the recommendations in a visual way. And so I just wanted to give an update that that's going to be coming up for review by the board, maybe in March or April. And I just wanted to mention that.
All right, let's
Okay.
go to
We have Savannah Nicole.
regional housing profile. Savannah.
Good morning, Chairman O'Leary and fellow board members. As many of you are aware, the 2021 legislative session brought about a variety of land use changes. A particular change of interest is the June 1st, 2022 deadline for municipal affordable housing plans that was stipulated in Public Act number 2129 to amend Connecticut General Statutes 8-30J. Over the last year, our staff has received inquiries for assistance with this requirement. We saw the publication of a regional housing profile as the best way to provide our member municipalities with the information that will assist you as you work towards meeting this requirement. So the regional housing profile has 3 goals. The first is to provide a clear understanding of what's required by the statute. The second is to provide housing data that can be used in your municipal affordable housing plan to understand your past and your current municipal housing trends. And the third is to provide local level land use strategies that can be implemented to increase the number of affordable housing developments. It is our hope that you find a strategy or a few that fit with your community's goals, constraints, and land use patterns. I'd just like to take a moment to note that the creation of this publication was a staff-wide effort that included the data, communications, and land use teams. I'd like to specifically thank Glenda and Rich for their assistance in collecting the data, Keith for his land use experience, Joanna for her regional guidance, Josh for his review throughout the drafting process, Desiree for her lead on the dissemination of the publication. And I'd like to really highlight Kate for her incredible work in designing the document. Kate's care and eye for detail has taken this very technical publication and made it an enjoyable and clear reading experience. So we wanted to show everybody a sneak peek of the document. So that's what you see before you. The last slide showed the cover, and then this slide shows our goals, and then one of our municipal level strategies. So the regional housing profile is set to be published this upcoming Monday, February 14th, and you will receive an electronic copy via email. But in the meantime, or after review, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you.
And SN, that's going to go, be sent to all the local planning officials as well as the CEOs.
Correct.
That's the question.
Sure.
So Savannah, in Naugatuck, we have what's called naturally occurring affordable housing, which doesn't qualify. So for example, we'll say a mobile.
Fill me in, what was that again?
Yeah, well, I learned this just last week. So we're at 8.47%. We want to get to 10%. And most of our affordable units in Naugatuck don't count. So we're trying to get them to count. So our strategy is to count what is really, in reality, affordable housing and make it qualify, but it can only be done with deed restrictions and a host of other things. But I'm assuming you don't have an answer for that in your report, but are you aware of that problem?
I believe that's Mayor Hess. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for your question, Mayor Hess. I will say we are aware. We call it in the COG affordable housing with a capital A, which is what the state pushes for, and then lowercase affordable housing. And I think across the region, we see a lot of municipalities that have that lowercase affordable A, where they have mobile homes, or they have small units that fit the income threshold for affordability, but they're not considered state affordable units. And so one thing that this plan really does is explains what that difference is. You all probably understand it deeply as the CEOs of your community, but this may be a document you help share with people so that they can understand it a little better. And then we also provide strategies for what the state wants, and then strategies that lead towards what you're talking about. And so we don't have an answer or a solution to get the state to count those units, but we do believe that both uppercase affordable housing and naturally occurring affordable housing are necessary for the strength and resiliency of this region.
Thank you. I'm going to have Lori contact you to get our lowercase a's into capital A's.
There you go.
Sounds good. If you tell my boss, we'll work together.
All right.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
Agenda 7, environmental planning, Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So last year, NVCOG held a successful sale of backyard composters, rain barrels, and related accessories to residents of our region. We worked with this distributor, a company called Brand Builders, to offer these items to residents at wholesale prices through an online store. And we promoted the sale through social media and press releases. We then hosted events in Cheshire and Southbury where residents were able to pick up their items. Last year, we sold 124 composters and 110 rain barrels. And we estimate that, if all those composters are used, it's basically taking about 60 or 70,000 pounds of waste out of the municipal solid waste stream in our region. So COG staff's now planning for a 2022 sale. We've reserved Saturday, May 21st for a potential pickup event date, and we hope to finalize that soon. We're currently looking for 2 communities interested in hosting pickup events this year. This could be a town parking lot, school, or park. Last year, they were at Cheshire Town Hall and the Southbury Community Center. There just needs to be enough room for a large box truck and a staging area, along with 10 or so parking spots. So there's a memo with details in your packet, and we'll also be reaching out to municipal staff in the coming weeks to try to lock down a couple locations.
Sounds good, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron on that? Okay. Kinneytown Dam.
Okay, so as you may recall, in December, FERC found Hydroland in violation of its authority to operate Kinneytown Dam and issued a list of actions that needed to be taken to bring the facility back into compliance. On January 18th, Hydroland submitted a letter responding to that finding, explaining that they had in fact been working at the dam, but giving a list of several excuses of why it had missed those deadlines. Included in that list were that in the list of requirements were that Hydroland needs to consult with DEP and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service by January 10th and submit an engineering assessment on the fish ladder to the agencies by January 31st. Last week, both agencies submitted letters to FERC saying that Hydroland had missed those deadlines and had not reached out to the agencies at all. So we've also been analyzing some elements of the new infrastructure bill that could be used at Kinneytown Dam, and we'll continue to do that. COG staff and our coalition partners have been making regular trips to Kinneytown to document conditions and monitor compliance activities. Rick asked me to share some examples of the type of evidence we've been compiling. So I'll just walk you through a couple slides here of some photos and video that we've been taking. And we've been trying to get down there monthly. We have about 6 months now of this type of evidence. So what you're looking at there is the spillway of the dam. So under normal operations, if both units were operating and generating electricity, there should be no water flowing over that spillway at all during, all but the very lowest and very highest flows that the river sees. So this indicates right here that neither Unit 1 nor Unit 2 are actually up and running and producing electricity, since all of the flow is going over the dam. And what that sort of means in the FERC world is, the dam's supposed to pass fish through the fish ladder that you can see at the lower left of your screen. When water's flowing over that spillway, all of the fish are attracted to the base of the dam instead of the entrance to the spillway. So that's one major issue that we've been tracking. We've also been tracking requirements that the dam operator repair the fish ladder itself. So we've been taking pictures of that regularly. You can see that there's no boat barrier at the top of the dam, which is very dangerous, because if you're above the dam in a boat, you really don't see anything over the horizon. You can't see that there's a dam right there, and that could be a very deadly situation. Next slide, please, Richard. We've also been noticing fish schooling. It's kind of a hard picture to see, but there are fish schooling above the dam, which could be an issue. The downstream passage is also not functioning right now. Next slide. We've also, so that's unit 1 right there. So that's where the generator is that generates electricity from water flowing through it. And you can see right there, and on the next slide, Rich, if the video is running, you can see that all of the flow is going through the spillway, and none of the flow is coming out of the outflow for the hydro facility itself. So, this facility is still not producing electricity and hasn't in over a year, which is a big concern. Next slide. Hydroland is also supposed to fix the gatehouse that would allow them to pass water through the canal and into where Unit 2 is in Ansonia. And you can see here, there's no flow going through that gatehouse right now. The gates are in a stuck position apparently, and they need divers to get in there and actually free them. But and that facility is also unsecured. It's unlocked. People can go in there, which is also kind of dangerous. And DEP and Housatonic Valley Association have recently documented fish schooling in the canal. So they snuck through the gates, which are stuck like, maybe an inch or two open. They've been able to sneak into there, and there's school of alewives, which were stocked upstream by DEEP. There's schools of them stuck in that canal. So all the work and effort that DEEP has been making to try to foster some of these migratory fish in the Naugatuck River, and they're all getting stuck in the canal. Next slide, Rich. We've also been looking at just general conditions of the facility. So you can see boats and trash in the canal. This is at Unit 2 in Ansonia, right off of 4th Street. They did recently fix the gate to this facility, which was pretty much wide open for the public to enter. But the door to the facility is still open, and you can see that the conditions are just not very good, and they've done nothing to clean up the trash or sort of respect the neighbors. Next slide. I think that might be it. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that. We're going to continue to monitor the facility and really hold Hydroland accountable to what FERC has ordered them to do.
This is Mayor Cassetti from the city of Ansonia. What are we doing? Are we fining this company? Is there any fines imposed on this firm?
So FERC can impose fines, and I think if they continue to be non-compliant, I think that's FERC's next step. And we're
I think it's been long enough. I mean, I think the fine should be instituted. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, look at that canal, filthy, dirty. I'm always got the neighbors calling me and complaining how dirty it is. I mean, this is their responsibility. They should be there. The fine should have been imposed a year ago. I don't know why FERC is stretching it out. They start fining them. Once they hit them in the pocketbook, they'll start doing stuff.
Mayor Cassetti, also bring to your attention and to Seymour's attention, we've identified that they also haven't paid you any taxes on the facility. So
really like that. Oh boy!
Well, you lit a fire under me, Rick.
no, you find it interesting.
Friday, Greg. Have a good weekend, man. Where do those boats come from, Mayor?
Yeah, them are people.
Yeah, from Naugatuck or
Just
Waterbury.
bring them in. Like they said, they just fixed the gate. They just fixed the gate because people residents were using it. They brought their own boats in. Going nowhere, but whatever.
Yeah, so there's a reservoir upstream that people are using the boats to get to that reservoir to fish.
Yeah.
Mayor, that's a marina. You didn't know you had a marina.
Yeah, it is.
Above here, that reservoir is the reservoir that's supposed to power this facility, but it's also where Aaron mentioned earlier, the sea run fishery that the state is trying to restore.
Shameful.
They're all stuck in that reservoir. You can't get to the ocean.
Is the mayor
On the
aware
Ansonia, it's
of the
called
great
Pope.
progress
It's
you've
referred to as
made
Pope
so
Pond.
far?
in
Doesn't sound
Ansonia.
like it.
Okay. Yeah,
Why don't we, when's our trip to DC for FERC? What happened to that?
We're ready, so.
We should put it
Schedule
together.
You're gonna
When
take
does
the bullet
flowers
train
come
from
out, Washington?
Naugatuck down there?
April.
Yeah, from
Naugatuck,
to
from the new train station, the bullet train
Yeah.
from the.
So if I just finish the update on this, Mr. So the congressional delegation has been very active as well. They have actually reached out directly to Hydroland, the facility owners. They've basically told them that they need to move and make a decision as to what they're doing here. They've encouraged them to make direct contact with us. So I'm waiting for that contact to occur
Who's us?
with NVCOG.
Okay.
With the FERC, so there are several additional letters in the works from the resource agencies to the FERC. And we're talking with the delegation about another letter that would address exactly what Mayor Cassetti was talking about, which is violations and fines by the FERC. The FERC process is pretty arcane, and we move from one division to another on the same open docket. And we're trying to get over to, Aaron, remind me, we're in compliance and going to enforcement. Is that correct? And when we go to enforcement, then they can fine them.
So Rick, these photos today, first of all, are very impressive and well done.
They are.
And they're new. I mean, I haven't seen them. Are they new?
Aaron just took these yesterday.
Pictures always over 1,000 words.
So you're gonna submit these to FERC, Aaron? It's well done. You did a great job with the photos.
So yeah, the coalition's been making periodic submissions to FERC with documentation, basically proving that, these things have not been done. And we're really looking now at specific compliance issues that are in the order and deadlines that Hydroland has yet to meet. So yeah, we will be submitting some of these photos.
They proved your case very clearly.
I think we should put them all together, the ones, especially this last PowerPoint. And we should get on the FERC calendar for March or April. I really believe we should go down there. I think it would be good. Why not? What do we got?
No, why not?
Road trip.
Nothing.
Road trip. Take the train.
Those always play well, huh?
Road
trip.
Take the train.
Yeah.
Stop in Baltimore. Maybe New York first.
Delaware.
Okay. All right, so let's do that. Can we do that? Can we coordinate that? All right. What else? Any other?
We're good. Like I said, we're gonna be making more filings and letters in the near future.
What about Shems? What's he say?
Aaron and I have a meeting with him at noon.
Today?
Yeah. And
show them the new photos.
yeah, he's seen them already. Aaron circulated to the working group. I mean, we have an ongoing staff steering committee between the three organizations involved in the coalition. We meet every Thursday. The attorneys between Deep, Fish and Wildlife, Save the Sound, and our organization and Naugatuck River Revival Group, they have a regular Wednesday call. And that has been extremely productive, I have to say. I don't love spending money on lawyers, but this team of lawyers has made certain that there's an ongoing process through Deep's attorneys, through Fish and Wildlife's attorneys, and back to the FERC. And it happens every day. We've been surprised that the resource agencies are way ahead of us. When we go to them and say, we think it's time for you to file something, they've already got it drafted. They're already going.
So is my man Kevin in those meetings?
Kevin's on the steering committee.
We're to be commended because the voice has been heard and you're doing your best, moving a very bureaucratic process that could take who knows for how long, but you can't make it move any faster, Rick. And we're doing the best you can. I'm glad it's getting people's attention. Keep up the good work.
It really is. All right, anybody else have anything other? Steve, how's Lenny doing?
Just texted him. He's doing, still okay. He's home.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. I'll let him know, yeah.
Yeah.
Give my best. I didn't realize there was an issue, Steve. Wow.
Not major, but he was laid up for a little bit. All right, having I guess maybe a motion to adjourn, and then I want to hear the story about accents.
So we all. We're all waiting anxiously for
No,
that one.
This is kind of fun.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
See, what happened to you?
Slipped on the ice.
Ouch.
Gotta get a
We're
better
adjourned.
story.
Nah.
Thank you all.